Most people think a beautiful garden requires a lot of space. It doesn't. The problem isn't the size of your garden. It's that most advice is for spaces much larger than what you actually have. There are a number of things designers do on every project that cost almost nothing and rely on simple rules, not a big budget. I'm about to show you 10 of them. We're counting down from 10, and number 1 will change how you see your entire outdoor space. Number 10, the 3-pot rule in pot risers. Most people have pots somewhere in their garden. The plants are fine, the pots are fine, but somehow the whole thing looks a bit flat, like the pots were just put down and left there. 2 things fix this immediately. The first is lifting the pots off the ground. A pot sitting flat on the floor looks forgotten. The exact same pot raised on a small riser, a couple of stacked bricks, flat stones, or even an upturned terracotta saucer, looks like someone made a choice. It has presence. Designers do this automatically. The second thing is grouping. 1 pot on its own looks lonely. 2 pots can look stiff. 3 pots at different heights. 1 tall, 1 medium, 1 low. Looks considered. The odd number is important. Our eyes read groups of 3 and 5 as natural. And within the group, keep the material consistent. If you're using terracotta, use terracotta for all 3. The containers should feel like they belong together. 3 pots, 1 material, different heights, all slightly lifted off the ground. That's it. It takes 10 minutes and looks completely different. Number 9, paint your fence dark. Most garden fences are some shade of brown or a weather gray. Nobody thinks much about it because a fence is just a boundary. But that background is one of the most powerful tools you have. Here's the thing. A pale or mid-tone fence makes everything in front of it disappear. The whole garden can read as one muddy tone. Now take the same plants and put a near black or dark charcoal fence behind them. Every color pops. Greens look greener and flowers stand out. The planting looks deliberate and vivid instead of blurry. Designers call this the backdrop effect. There's another benefit, too. Dark surfaces visually recede. A light fence advances. Your eye goes straight to it, and you see immediately where the garden ends. A dark fence seems to disappear, making the space feel like it continues past the boundary. In a small garden, that effect is genuinely significant. The color range is narrow, near black, dark charcoal, deep forest green, 1 coat of exterior paint, and the garden looks different the same day. Number 8, clean your lawn edges. This is the one I recommend first to anyone who asks how to make their garden look better without spending money. It's free. It takes about 20 minutes, and the difference is immediate. Here's why it matters. You can have beautiful plants and nice furniture, but at the edge where your lawn meets the border is scraggly and blurry. The whole garden looks like nobody's paying attention. A clean, sharp edge between lawn and border says someone is in control. It looks like a decision was made. The tool you want is a half-moon edging iron. You push it vertically into the soil along the borderline. Remove the thin ribbon of turf, and you're left with a clean vertical cut. Do this twice a year, and that's enough to keep it looking sharp. The edges matter more than most people realize. Number 7, use the same hard materials throughout. Most gardens get built in stages. A patio 1 year, a path a few years later, some edging from the garden center. Each thing looked fine when you bought it, but together, they look like a collection of separate decisions rather than one coherent space. Designers choose 1 or at most 2 hard materials and repeat them throughout the entire project. The paving on the patio appears again on the path. The pot color relates to the furniture color. The result is a garden that reads as one thing. You don't need expensive materials to do this. You need consistent ones. Cheap terracotta pots used consistently look more designed than a mix of expensive pots in different styles. Going forward, the rule is simple. Before you buy anything for the garden, ask whether it relates to what's already there. If the answer is no, keep looking. Number 6, always plan in odd numbers. This is one of the first things you learn in garden design. It sounds almost too simple, but once you apply it, you won't stop. Our eyes read even numbers, 2, 4, 6, as a range and formal. Odd numbers, 3, 5, 7, read as natural. Our brains interpret them as plants that chose to grow that way, rather than plants that were positioned. The practical application is simple. When you buy plants, don't buy one of everything. Buy 3 of the things you love most and plant them as a group. 3 of the same plant grouped together reads as a drift, a natural sweep of color. 1 each of 3 different plants scattered across a bed reads as leftovers. This matters at every scale. 3 containers, 5 bulbs in a pot, 7 lavenders along a path. Always adjust to the nearest odd number. Number 5. Choose 1 hero plant and repeat it. A garden with 20 different species and no repetition can look exhausting in real life. The eye doesn't know where to go. There's no thread to follow. Designers solve this with repetition. They choose 1 plant and use it multiple times throughout the garden. Spread out. Every time your eye sees it, it recognizes it and follows the trail. The garden starts to feel connected. The plant you choose as your repeater needs to earn its place all year. Ornamental grasses are one of the best options. They have structure and movement all year. A small evergreen shrub with a distinct shape also works. You don't need many. 3 to 5 plants of the same species, placed at thoughtful intervals, is enough to create that rhythm. That pattern is what makes the space feel intentional. Number 4. Layer your plants by height. Every time. This is the single most commonly ignored rule, and it explains why some borders look full and professional and others look flat and random. The rule is straightforward. Tall plants go at the back of the border. Medium plants go in the middle. Low plants go along the front edge. That's it, without exception. When you layer this way, you can see every plant from the front. The border has depth, a front, a middle, and a back. When you don't layer, you get chaos. A tall plant stuck at the front blocks everything behind it. The same principle works in containers. A tall plant in the center, thriller, medium plants around it, filler, and trailing plants spilling over the edge, spiller. Before you plant anything, check the label for the mature height. Tall goes back, low goes front. Do that every time. Number 3, light one thing well at night. Most gardens go dark at dusk. Without light, the space just becomes black. One very simple lighting decision changes this. You do not need a full lighting scheme or an electrician. You need 1 warm spike light placed at the base of the best plant or most textured surface in your garden. A low wattage uplighter throws light upward. The texture of whatever it's hitting gets amplified. Shadow appears, depth appears. The garden becomes something to look at in the evening. Position matters more than brightness. Angle a softer light upward at about 45 degrees from the base to create drama. The other thing is color temperature. Every light should be 2,700 Kelvin or warmer. That's a warm, yellow-white light. It's always on the box. 1 warm spike light, angled upward at the base of your best feature. The garden changes overnight. Literally. Number 2, 1 focal point with nothing competing. Most small gardens have too much going on. Too many pots, too many ornaments, too many different plants. Together, it's visual noise, and the eye doesn't know where to land. The space feels busy and smaller than it is. The solution is not to add more. It's to edit down. Every well-designed garden has one thing the eye goes to first: a specimen tree, a statement pot, a well-placed bench. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that there's one of them, and everything else supports it rather than competing with it. The work isn't adding something new. It's clearing everything that's drawing attention away from what already works. Look at your garden and identify the one thing that's actually worth looking at. Then remove everything in its immediate sightline that's competing with it. To reinforce it, add symmetry. 2 matching pots on either side of the bench signals to the brain that this is the main feature. Number 1, add height to make a small garden feel bigger. When a garden feels cramped, every instinct says to keep things low. The logic is that tall things will close the space in. It makes complete sense. It's also wrong. Adding vertical height to a small garden makes it feel larger, not smaller. Here's why. Your eye measures space by what it travels past on the way to the boundary. In a flat, low garden, the eye goes straight to the fence. You see immediately where the space ends. Now put something tall in the space, a slender tree, an obelisk with a climber. The eye pauses on those vertical elements on the way to the fence. The journey takes longer, so the space feels bigger. Tall, narrow plants are key. You want something that goes up, not out. A fastigiate tree, one that grows in a tight column, is the ideal choice. It takes up almost no floor space and completely reframes how the garden reads. It also adds privacy without building a wall. Go vertical instead.